Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're not just crunching data or looking at government policies. We're talking about real human lives. I'm going to be your guide as we explore how education, when given a second time around, literally transforms people. Imagine, just for a second, leaving school at 14 or 15 because your family needed the income, or just because life got in the way. For a lot of folks, that feels like the absolute end of their education story. But as we'll see, for millions, it's actually the start of an entirely new chapter. So, I want to start by exploring this journey with you through one central, really powerful question. What actually happens when someone gets a second chance at education? Everything we're unpacking today revolves around that single thought. We're going to dive into the struggles, the practical steps back into the classroom, and honestly, the incredible futures being built from the ground up. To ground this whole thing in reality, I want to share a raw quote from a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread. It's from a former student who wrote, "I said to myself, na babalik ako after 1 month, kaso inabot ng 2 years." Now, for those who might not speak Tagalog, that essentially means I told myself I'd go back after 1 month, but it ended up taking 2 years. Just think about that. Imagine stepping away from school at 14 years old to deal with a personal struggle. This honest confession completely grounds our story in a very real personal reality. It shows us how easily a brief pause can accidentally snowball into years away from the classroom. Right, so let's dive into this interrupted chapter and understand exactly why traditional classrooms sometimes get left behind in the first place. You know, behind common reasons for leaving school are real, breathing people. When we hear about financial struggles, we're really talking about a teenager forced to work on a construction site just to help feed their siblings. Family responsibilities? That's a young mother putting her own dreams on hold to care for her baby. These are circumstances that are almost always entirely out of a student's control. Leaving school in these situations isn't about a lack of ambition, not at all. It's about survival. Now, for so many people, packing up their school bags for what feels like the last time might seem like the end of the road. But let's move forward and see how a completely new pathway opens up. Here's the thing. Education absolutely does not have an expiration date. The Alternative Learning System, or ALS in the Philippines, is a program built entirely around that hope. It's essentially a bridge designed specifically for the exact people we just talked about, out-of-school youth, working adults, parents. It's a system that basically says, hey, it's okay that you had to stop. We're here when you're ready to start again. And there's a really core difference between these two paths. Look, traditional schooling is fantastic, but it requires rigid schedules, daily attendance, strict age brackets. I mean, imagine being a 30-year-old who needs to finish high school. Sitting in a classroom full of 15-year-olds every weekday from 8 to 5? That simply isn't practical, especially if you're holding down a job. ALS, on the flip side, offers modular, community-based flexibility. You're learning at your own pace, often right in your local community center, fitting your education seamlessly around your actual life. So, who's actually using this system? Well, if you walked into an ALS learning center, you'd meet an incredible mix of people. You've got a teenager who fell behind during the pandemic sitting right next to a factory worker taking night classes. You'll find a fisherman, a tricycle driver, or even a construction worker hitting the books after a grueling 12-hour shift. They all have different stories, different daily struggles, but they share this one unifying goal of building a better future for themselves and their families. Let's shift gears slightly here. How does this program actually work on a practical level? Let's explore how ALS provides the kind of everyday guidance that changes daily life. A lot of times, we think of math as just abstract numbers trapped in heavy textbooks, right? But ALS grounds education in absolute reality. Let's walk through the day-to-day life of a small sorry store owner, your neighborhood convenience store. Step 1, they buy their inventory for 500 pesos. Step 2, they sell those goods for 700 pesos. Step 3 is computing that financial return. That simple calculation gives you a 200 pesos profit. But let's look at how this builds into something so much bigger. That isn't just a math problem to pass a quiz. That is literally practical mathematics in action. When you teach a learner about percentages, discounts, and interest rates using examples from their daily grind, you're empowering them to make smarter financial decisions that directly impact what goes on their family's dinner table. And the exact same philosophy applies to literacy. We aren't just talking about reading classic novels here. We're talking about navigating the modern world. It's having the ability to read and truly understand an employment contract so you don't get taken advantage of. It's about confidently filling out government forms, understanding the exact dosage on your child's medicine bottle, or finally nailing that job application. In this context, literacy is a shield. It's a tool to protect yourself and advocate for your own rights.
Eventually, to formally graduate and move forward, many of these learners prepare for a major milestone, the Accreditation and Equivalency, or A&E test.
You know what's truly fascinating about the A&E test? It's what it doesn't ask of you. Passing this isn't about memorizing hundreds of pages of obscure trivia. It's all about proving you've mastered highly practical competencies. Can you comprehend what you read? Can you think critically? Can you solve everyday problems and communicate your ideas effectively? The whole thing is entirely about applying knowledge to real-life challenges, proving to yourself and the world that you're ready for the workforce or higher education.
Okay, let's bring this all back to a human level. Let's return to our real-life Reddit user from the beginning of this explainer and see how this system actually propels someone forward.
Their journey over time is just incredibly inspiring. In grade 7, at barely 14 years old, they stopped attending school. For 2 long years, their formal education was entirely paused. But then they took a brave step and enrolled in ALS modular learning. Just 6 months later, after intense dedication, literally staying up from morning until dawn working on modules, they graduated from the program. And today, they are sitting in grade 11, setting their sights on a political science degree and eventually becoming a lawyer. I mean, wow! This proves without a shadow of a doubt that a person's past does not determine their future. A difficult chapter absolutely does not have to be the final chapter.
As we pull back a bit and look at the bigger picture, the core lessons from ALS connect perfectly to themes that affect every single one of us today, regardless of our educational background. Whether you're an ALS learner, a recent university grad, or someone totally mid-career, this reality applies to you. Technology is changing at breakneck speed. Jobs are evolving right in front of our eyes as artificial intelligence reshapes the workforce. And because of this, new opportunities are constantly emerging. Adapting to the shifting landscape means that lifelong learning is no longer just a cute hobby, it is an absolute survival skill. The resilience and adaptability shown by a construction worker studying late at night, that is the exact same mindset we all need to thrive in the future.
The beautiful takeaway from our journey today is surprisingly simple. Education is not a race. I know we're conditioned to think we have to graduate by 18, have a shiny career by 22, and basically have life totally figured out by 30. But people learn at different speeds. Life throws massive curveballs. Circumstances are different for everyone. But as millions of learners have proven time and time again, there is always an opportunity to begin again.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. If education is not about where you started, where are you willing to go? Getting a second chance isn't just about making up for lost time. It's the powerful, incredible beginning of a brand new chapter. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it inspired you to look at learning and perhaps your own potential in a completely new light.